land back is necessary to any anti-capitalist struggle in colonised countries. This is because land theft is integral to create a permanent, oppressed working class in these countries. When land is stolen, colonial authorities and capitalists mark up the price and then get settlers in. The settlers and Indigenous people then have to work for wages to have somewhere to live. Then the colonisers use that profit, generated from the surplus labour of the people, to take more land, then get more settlers in. So there's always too many settlers, and the price of labour stays low, because of the now growing reserve army of labour, and that creates a permanent oppressed working class in a colonised country, all created by stolen land. Pre-colonial and Indigenous societies showed a living negation of capitalist social relations, which is precisely why the colonial and capitalist classes feared our societies, because we offered a vision of freer modes of life that could inspire revolt. These old communal traditions looked very much like the kind of society socialists were calling for. So, colonial powers started passing laws to break up communal land in the colonies, trying to force people into a capitalist system, to hinder any consciousness against the prevailing capitalist class at any expense. Henry Sewell, New Zealand's first Premier, a post that later would be officially titled Prime Minister, said,
"The object of the Native Lands Act was twofold: to bring the great bulk of the lands of the Northern Island, which belong to the natives, within the reach of colonisation. The other great object was the detribalisation of the natives, to destroy, if it were possible, the principles of communism, which ran through the whole of their institutions, upon which their social system was based, and which stood as a barrier in the way of all attempts to amalgamate the native race into our own social and political system. It was hoped that by the individualisation of titles to land, giving them the same individual ownership which we ourselves possessed, they would lose their communistic character, and that their social status would become assimilated to our own."
Rosa Luxemburg reiterated this fact of colonial capitalist fears that pre-colonial societies would inspire the working class, saying,
"The bourgeoisie, clearly affected in their class interests, scented an obscure connection between the ancient communist survivals that put up stubborn resistance in the colonial countries to the forward march of the profit-hungry Europeanization of the indigenous people and the new gospel of revolutionary impetuousness of the proletarian mass in the old capitalist countries. When the French National Assembly was deciding the fate of the unfortunate Arabs of Algeria in 1873 with a law on the compulsory introduction of private property, it was repeatedly said, in a gathering where the cowardice and bloodlust of the conquerors of the Paris Commune still trembled, that the ancient common property of the Arabs must at any cost be destroyed, as a form that supports communist tendencies in people's minds.